Most relationships don't end with an explosion. They don't end with cheating, betrayal, or slammed doors. They end silently, while both partners are still in the same room. That's the cruel truth no one wants to admit. You picture breakups as dramatic scenes, shouting, tears, accusations. But in reality, love usually dies like a slow leak. No bang, no smoke. Just a steady drip of disconnection until one day you wake up beside a stranger. The collapse is almost invisible. One day she laughs at your jokes and leans into you on the couch. The next, she scrolls her phone while you talk. She's not angry, she's just elsewhere. And you don't panic, because everything looks fine. Dinner's cooked, bills are paid, vacations get planned. But beneath the surface, the foundation is cracking. Relationships rarely die from fire. They die from ice, the freezing of attention, affection, and presence. Attraction doesn't vanish in a moment. It erodes with every ignored "how was your day?", every unspoken resentment, every distracted glance. Here's the trap. Silence feels safe. No fighting, no chaos. But silence isn't peace, it's surrender. The most dangerous words in any relationship aren't "I hate you." They're "I'm fine." Because fine is emotional flatline. By the time you notice, it's often too late. The collapse doesn't announce itself. It doesn't scream. It whispers. And if you don't hear it, you'll only realize when the love is already gone. Chapter 2. The Comfort Trap. Comfort is the slowest poison in a relationship. At first, it feels good. You relax. You stop trying so hard. You take off the mask you wore while dating. For a while, that's healthy. It's intimacy. It's being real. But here's the trap. The same comfort that makes you feel secure is the same comfort that kills attraction. What begins as closeness turns into complacency. What begins as routine turns into boredom. Think about the early days. Every text had energy. You dressed with intention. You planned dates, chased adventure, chased each other. Fast forward 5 years, and now you're on opposite ends of the couch, eating in silence, scrolling on your phones. It doesn't feel like betrayal. It feels like normal life. But here's the ugly truth. Normal is the enemy of desire. Humans don't crave routine. We crave growth, challenge, and novelty. When that spark disappears at home, one of two things happens. Either both partners settle into quiet resignation, or one starts searching for excitement somewhere else. And it doesn't always look like cheating. Sometimes it's just withdrawal, throwing yourself into work, hobbies, or friends. You're together, but not connected. Comfort has replaced passion, and predictability has suffocated desire. The irony? Most couples think comfort means success. We don't fight, we're stable, so we're fine. But stability without passion isn't love. It's a business arrangement. Love needs tension, the balance between safety and excitement. Too much chaos and it falls apart. Too much comfort and it dies. Chapter 3. The Validation Economy. Every relationship runs on an invisible economy. Not money, not chores. The real currency is validation, attention, appreciation, desire. At the start, this economy flows easily. She tells you you're handsome. You tell her she's beautiful. You notice each other's efforts, celebrate wins, flirt without thinking. Every interaction is a little deposit that says, you still matter. But over time, the economy collapses. Why? Because you stop giving what you assume is secure. You assume she knows you find her attractive. You assume he knows you respect him. The compliments, the thank yous, the little touches, they fade. And in that silence, doubt grows. Here's the truth. People don't crave validation because they're weak. They crave it because it proves they're still seen. Validation isn't fluff, it's fuel. Without it, the tank runs dry. That's when outside attention becomes dangerous. A coworker notices her new haircut. A stranger praises his work. Suddenly, that tiny drop of recognition feels intoxicating. Because at home, the account is empty. Affairs rarely start with lust. They start with validation. It's not that people cheat because they want someone new. They cheat because they want to feel new again. And here's the tragedy. This collapse is preventable. Most relationships don't die from lack of love. They die from lack of expressed love. Words unsaid, touches unmade, appreciation unspoken. The validation economy is simple. Starve it, and your relationship withers. Feed it, and it thrives. Chapter 4. The illusion of time. The biggest lie couples tell themselves is, we'll fix it later. Later, when work slows down. Later, when the kids are older. Later, when life is less stressful. But here's the truth. There is no later. There's only now. And every day you wait, the distance grows wider. The illusion of time feels safe because nothing looks urgent. You're not fighting. Nobody's walking out. So you delay the talk. You swallow the tension. You convince yourself you've got time. But time doesn't heal what you ignore. It amplifies it. Think about a tiny crack in a windshield. Leave it long enough, and one day the whole glass shatters. That's how relationships break. What feels small, a missed compliment, a neglected intimacy, a swallowed resentment, doesn't stay small. It compounds. The danger is silence feels easier. Vulnerability is hard. Confrontation is scary. So you wait. Next week, next month. After the holidays, every delay is a withdrawal from the bank of trust and intimacy. One day, you try to deposit again, and the account is already closed. Most breakups aren't sudden, they're scheduled. One partner detaches months before the words, "I'm not in love with you anymore," are spoken. To the other, it feels like a bomb. To them, it's been over for a long time. The illusion of time is seductive, but it kills more love than betrayal ever could. Not with chaos, with delay. If you're listening to this and it feels like I'm describing your relationship right now, I want you to know you're not alone. Drop the word broken in the comments. Not for pity, not for judgment, but as a signal to yourself and others that you see what's happening and you're ready to face it. You'd be surprised how many people here are silently living the same story. Chapter 5. The point of no return. Every relationship has a breaking point, but it doesn't happen when someone finally leaves. It happens earlier, the moment one partner quietly decides, "I'm done." By the time they pack a bag or speak the words out loud, they've already crossed the point of no return, and you never saw it coming. Here's the brutal truth. People don't leave when they stop loving you. They leave when they stop believing change is possible. Love can survive anger, frustration, even betrayal. But it cannot survive hopelessness, and hopelessness is the silent killer. Arguments don't end relationships. In fact, fighting means there's still passion, still investment. The real danger is when the arguments stop. When your partner isn't pushing, asking, or demanding anymore. They've already checked out. That quiet? It isn't peace. It's resignation. The tragedy is, resignation rarely comes from one big mistake. It comes from years of small neglects. From comfort mistaken for connection. From silence mistaken for harmony. From later mistaken for safety. The buildup, not the explosion, kills love. And once someone crosses that invisible line, it's nearly impossible to bring them back. Promises, begging, sudden effort, all feel too late. Because for them, it is too late. The point of no return doesn't look like slamming doors. It looks like numbness. It looks like someone who used to hope, deciding they won't hope anymore. And when hope dies, the relationship is already over, even if you're still under the same roof. Chapter 6. The myth of compatibility. We love to believe relationships fail because two people weren't compatible. It's a neat excuse. Right person, wrong fit, simple, clean, not our fault. But here's the truth. Compatibility is the most overrated myth in love. Couples don't collapse because they like different music or hobbies. They collapse because they stop choosing each other. Daily, deliberately. Compatibility is a starting point, not a guarantee. It sparks attraction, aligns values, creates chemistry. But once the honeymoon glow fades, reality takes over. Careers shift, bodies change, dreams evolve. Who you are at 25 isn't who you'll be at 45. If your love depends only on compatibility, it collapses the second either of you changes. The myth is dangerous because it makes people lazy. If we're meant to be, it should be easy. Wrong. Nothing worth keeping is easy. Long-term couples don't survive because they're perfectly matched. They survive because they keep working, adjusting, showing up. The truth is, any two people can feel incompatible if they stop investing. And almost any two people can thrive if they keep choosing each other. Love isn't discovered, it's built. Compatibility feels romantic, but effort is what keeps passion alive. Growth, honesty, the courage to have uncomfortable conversations, the willingness to fight for connection when it would be easier to walk away. So stop asking if you're with the right person. Start asking if you're being the right partner. Compatibility doesn't save relationships. Work does. Chapter 7. The Anatomy of Emotional Detachment. Emotional detachment doesn't crash into a relationship like a storm. It seeps in like fog, slow, quiet, almost invisible, until one day you can't see each other anymore. It begins with neglect. The small gestures fade. "How was your day?" becomes, "Did you pay that bill?" The hug at the door turns into a distracted nod. Not out of malice, but out of habit. Then comes resentment. Little frustrations stack up. A forgotten gesture, a careless comment. Left unspoken, they harden. Resentment is rust. Once it sets in, it spreads. Next is withdrawal. Conversations shrink, intimacy feels mechanical, affection becomes duty. You're not fighting, but you're not connecting either. It looks polite, but it feels hollow. Finally, numbness. This is the deadliest stage. Anger still has energy, hurt still has hope, but numbness is absence. One partner looks at the other and feels nothing. By the time you notice detachment, it's often too late, because it doesn't announce itself with explosions. It announces itself with what's missing. The laughter that isn't there, the touch that doesn't come, the spark that's gone. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. Hate still means you care. Indifference means you've stopped showing up, and once numbness takes hold, words rarely fix it. Detachment only responds to presence, consistency, and effort. If you wait too long, your partner may already believe it's hopeless. Emotional detachment doesn't end love in one moment. It erases it, slowly, one neglected day at a time. Chapter 8. Why silence is louder than words. Most people think fights end relationships. The shouting, the slammed doors, the words you can't take back. But fights aren't the real killer. Silence is. Silence isn't calm. Silence is decay. When couples stop talking, it's not because they've run out of words. It's because they've run out of hope the other person will listen. That's why silence is louder than anger. It isn't absence of sound, it's presence of resignation. Remember the early days? You couldn't stop talking. Dreams, secrets, even arguments were alive with energy. Fast forward, and conversations shrink to logistics. Did you pay the bill? What's for dinner? The soundtrack of your relationship becomes admin. That silence isn't peace. It's distance. Silence feels easier than honesty. Saying I feel neglected risks conflict. Admitting I need more feels scary. So instead, you swallow it. Every unsaid word is a brick in the wall between you. Eventually, the wall gets too tall to climb. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference. And silence is how indifference rehearses. Arguments still mean you care. Silence means you've stopped. Here's the danger. Silence doesn't stay silent. It echoes. It rewrites reality. When you don't speak, your partner fills the blanks with doubts. You don't love me. You don't care. I don't matter. That's why silence kills faster than conflict. Because conflict, at least, is still connection. Silence is the quiet funeral of intimacy. And if you don't break it, it will bury your love. Final words. Most people think love ends with betrayal, shouting, or tears. But the truth is simpler. Love ends in silence, in neglect, in waiting for later until there is no later left. Every chapter you've heard comes down to this. Relationships aren't accidents. They're choices, daily choices, intentional choices. You can feed the spark, or you can watch it die. You can grow together, or you can drift apart. There is no autopilot. There is no neutral. So ask yourself, what choice are you making right now? Are you building? Are you investing? Are you showing up? Because love doesn't survive by default. It survives because two people fight for it, fiercely, deliberately, relentlessly. And if you don't fight for it, you've already chosen to lose it. The choice is yours. Always.